So the biggest thing on the internet at the moment has been the whole Aaron Swartz debacle of where he recently committed suicide pending a massive court case on a subject that was quite touchy. Basically what had happened is he was being pressured by the government for stealing academic files or journals from MIT, and they were now pressing charges for doing that. And he wasn't stealing them to bring them out and sell them to public. He was actually stealing them and making them freely available. It's quite a hotly debated topic, and there's a bit of angst on both sides, and how this sort of information should be distributed. I don't really want to talk too much about Aaron Swartz as the person, because I feel like I didn't really know who he was until very recently. And I think a lot of coverage has already been done on who he is and what he was about, everything like that. And if you do want to go find out a little bit more about Aaron Swartz, I definitely recommend going to check out Grant Hines' channel. He did a nice little piece on who he was and how he felt about how the situation was dealt with. In learning about who Aaron Swartz was, I came across a lot of the things that he did, what he stood for and what he was really fighting for. And that was kind of important to me because it resonates with what I do in my career, in my industry and all that sort of stuff. Basically, he was opposing certain laws on the CC or copyright. Not opposing them, but looking for ways to make it more manageable. The whole debate came along when all these votes came in, like SOPA, wanting to mute the internet and censor a lot of information, thereby taking away people's right for freedom of speech if it was deemed illegal content or copyrighted content. The problem with copyright at the moment is that everything you do and say, it becomes copyright. So it is so easy for somebody to slip up and take something unknowingly of somebody else's, and they can then come back at you and say, well, this is copyright and you owe me money for it. And when it came to the whole debate where Aaron actually stole these documents from MIT, or these educational journals from them to distribute freely and make them available for everybody to learn, for those people who don't have the funds to go to an expensive school like that but are hungry to learn for it. It raises a lot of questions, and it's like, who gives him that right to do that? It's all, obviously it wasn't his right, and he got seriously punished for it. But I'm just trying to play, the devil's advocate here. Where are we going with the whole copyright thing? For me personally, I get frustrated here and there. There are areas of copyright that I get very angry with, and it almost seems unfair, like it's just out of your reach. We could take music, for instance, and my own YouTube videos. I love making these YouTube videos, and for the most part, the content is all mine. There's nothing stopping me from doing everything that I do. The only thing is that I love to add a little bit of music in the background. I love to get a little bit of a movement going. But when I originally started looking for music content, there's so many cool music. I mean, everybody wants to use the popular pop tracks that are coming out and everything like that, but they're all copyrighted. And with that copyright comes restrictions, and as soon as you upload it, that you get slapped with a ban on your video, and your video gets censored. And I've had it happen to me a couple of times, which is frustrating, because you work so hard to do that. But at the same time, that music didn't belong to me. It wasn't mine. I had no right to distribute it. In my mind, I'm thinking, I'm not doing anything wrong per se. I wanted to, if anything, I'm promoting the video. But that's how I see it, and I think that's what a lot of people are seeing, and that's where there's a lot of confusion coming in. Because now, if you take it from the perspective of you as a person, and you create something that's original, that's yours, and you release it, and you want people to see what it's like, and then somebody else takes your content and they use it, or they modify it, or they add onto it. Some people are very happy with it, they don't mind, but some people get very hang on, that was mine, you can't just go and do that, and you can't go and benefit off of it. Now, I wasn't benefiting off of any of the music that I was playing in my YouTube videos. I don't know any money from it. All I did was, just had cool music in the background on of my videos that I was making. But the possibility is still there. But even though I didn't do it, I still got slapped with a censored video on YouTube, which was very frustrating for me because it takes a long time sometimes to make these videos. And then this is where the whole CC thing comes in, and it's really complicated, and it gets very frustrating. We live in an age where everything is available to us. Our next door neighbors are the United States, it's China. We can get content from everywhere. Information is available to us, but a lot of information, the reliable information, is stuck away in a closet somewhere where we have to flash a credit card or something to get to. Now, the biggest debate that comes into this is, why aren't we allowed access to academic journals? It's an educational thing. It's only going to help everybody else grow in society and strengthen the economy with people getting educated and getting better jobs and all that sort of stuff. But you got also, I know it's difficult sometimes because it's so frustrating, but there's somebody at the end of that line, or rather at the beginning of the line, who made that content and who invested their time and money to provide people with their knowledge, and they need to be compensated. And it does this terrible loop of like, you're going to provide everybody with academic content, but you're not going to be able to fend for yourself or feed yourself with food, or clothe yourself, or get a house, look after your family. It's all those sort of things. And the complication with that, with an artist or with somebody who writes books, they can give you free content and say, here's free content, let's let it out to the world, and it could either do incredibly well or it could do really badly. Either way, that artist has benefited from no way other than their name getting recognized of who they are, what they've done, maybe. And for those artists who do charge for their work, if it does do well, then they earn a fat fortune, and we complain and we bitch and we moan and we're like, why? I don't understand how these people can live, and then they complain about this and that and whatever. But if it doesn't do well, they don't earn the money that they wanted so badly. So we have to sort of, I keep on thinking of this, trying to figure out this balance of how do we monitor this? How do we make sure that these artists are getting fairly paid? And when I say artists, I mean like artists like writers, singers, people or teachers, people who bring us these academic journals and all that sort of stuff. It's very weird cycle, and at the end of the day it does, and it comes down to money. It's like, how are you going to benefit from that? And the other thing that I've also noticed in a lot of things is people don't appreciate free stuff. We really don't. If you get something handed to you on a golden platter and say, there you go, is a massive book or whatever you need to help you learn this and whatever, and it might benefit you, you don't know that, you haven't invested anything into it, and you're not going to go for it. So there's and if you don't continue, or if you start this book and reading and trying to learn it, you get halfway through and you think, oh, this is not for me. There's no loss to you. There's no outcome. It's like, oh, it's fine, whatever. I can push that aside and never have to look at it again. It doesn't affect me in any way. But when you invest in something that's that expensive, especially tertiary education, or going to one of those massive private schools or universities that cost a fortune, that a student has to take a loan out just to do, then your time is invested in that, and you are going to make it through there because it has cost you so much, and you have nothing left to fall back on other than getting through that course to make sure that you make it out there, to make sure that you can make a living for yourself. So in my mind, while I do think that there are greedy stakeholders holding on to these licenses and really preventing the world from getting access to it, and I believe that there's a lot of information that deserves to be let out there, there still needs to be some sort of compensation for the people who created the content, for the people who want to share it into the world. How do they benefit from doing this for everybody? And I think everybody tends to forget about where the source of this content came from. And maybe there's very old documents where, like history, I suppose, is, people who wrote those books may no longer be around you, but there are people that keep on updating that information and keeping it accurate and researching. So the next time you want to look at something like that, think about it from that side. And I'm not saying that it's right or wrong the way we do it. But I'm just saying that there needs to be a new way, and I think the internet has changed the way that we source information. Wikipedia is one of those fantastic libraries that isn't accepted by universities because of the amount of people that are adding information. It's very difficult for anybody to recognize Wikipedia as a reliable source of information, and that's why I think everybody's come out releasing these academic journals to the world, so that there is a sound source of information, because people are hungry for that information, especially when they're doing their own research. I've kind of said my piece on what I think about the whole Aaron Swartz thing. I think what he did was an amazing cause. I think he was an incredibly intelligent person. I read a lot of his blogs. I mean, he was a crazy movie fanatic, and so it's a very sad loss that it had to come to that, and it's very sad that society has pushed somebody like that to those sort of extremes. And I think the problem is that when you have these issues that aren't being addressed and the governments are pushing back saying it can't change, and here's this kid who's really trying to fight for this change, and he's rallying up as many people as he can to join him in that change. So it's a very sad loss, and we don't really have a lot of people like that fighting those causes, because it's a scary thing to really go up against, and a lot of people don't think that they can actually do that sort of stuff. I hope that something does come of it. I hope some sort of change gets recognized, and that these people in power start to realize the impact that it's having on the people who are looking for this information and sourcing it. I don't think that the internet is fully understood by a lot of people. I think there's a ton of misconceptions there. That's all I really wanted to tell you. One last thing I did want to tell you, and I think it's quite important, is I didn't want people to confuse CC with pirating. In my mind, they're completely two different things, and they impact hugely on my industry and on other industries like the movie industry and the music industry. But that's a topic for another time, which I probably get very heated and debatable and all that sort of stuff, but I have that on the cards. I just ran out of time for this one. But anyway, I'd love to hear your opinion on what I had to say. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? That's okay, please put them in the comments below. I got a ton of cool things coming up, so I'd love you to subscribe to my channel as well. Remember to like or dislike if you don't mind. Well, I don't mind. If you disliked it, then that's cool. That's showing your opinion as well. I hope I get more likes than dislikes, but anyway. It was a nice suggestion that came up on my Facebook page, so you can join me on those channels. Check me out on Twitter and on Instagram. Other than that, I will check you guys soon. Cheers.